TNT.
Last 3 times college football national championship games been played in New Orleans. LSU has been there for the 2003 season. Look at that.
Spears.
Marcus Spears against Oklahoma. A little LSU-Oklahoma postseason. Nick Saban won his first national championship, the first for LSU in the modern era. 2007 season, maybe might follow the same path. They played Ohio State. Les Miles got a championship, 38-24. But then this is when LSU turned, when Alabama in the rematch shut them out 21-0. It's been a long wasteland for the Bayou Bengals for titles until now. Joe Burrow with Tom Rinaldi.
Joe, heading into this season, what do you think the outside narrative was about Joe Burrow as the LSU quarterback? Honestly.
We were changing the offense. They're like, yeah, we've heard that before. And then they kept saying, you know, we have a pretty good quarterback. And they said, yeah, we've heard that before. I mean, there was a lot of disrespect, I think, towards us. And we knew that everyone was going to doubt it until they saw it against Florida, Auburn, and Alabama.
And the LSU Fighting Tigers and Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide, a loss here at Bryant-Denny.
The reception at the airport. What did you think of that scene?
It was wild. It was wild. I didn't realize how much it really meant to Louisiana, that game. That was fun.
Joe Burrow now with his first opportunity at quarterback. Nice touch from Joe Burrow. Touchdown.
When you arrived at Ohio State, what were your expectations for the next 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, you know, they had a loaded quarterback room. Braxton Miller, JT Barrett, Cardale Jones. I'll sit for 2 years, JT will leave for the NFL, and then I'll have a great career there. And that's just not how it worked out.
Who was the first person you told you were leaving Ohio State?
Coach Meyer.
What was the conversation like with Urban?
It was pretty emotional. They didn't want me to leave, and honestly, I didn't want to leave, but I thought it was best for my career. That was my first home. That's where I went to college first. That's where I graduated. That's where I learned to become a man on my own. And so it was hard to leave.
Someone looking you in the eye and telling you, you're not good enough to start. For you, what was that moment like?
You know, I've been told I wasn't good enough since recruiting. I had one offer after my junior year of high school, and it was my dad's team. I wanted to go to Nebraska. They told me I wasn't good enough, and Ohio State was really my only big-time offer.
How has that shaped you, Joe, as a player?
I remember all the recruiters' names that told me no. I remember all the Elite 11 guys that got chosen over me. So I remember all that stuff. I keep a mental log of it.
Why?
I think that's just who I am.
I can see it even on your face right now. Those slights.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways to deal with that. What are they?
Well, you can accept the fact that people are saying those guys are better than you, or you can just keep working. That's what I did. I knew I would be at this point. That's exactly what happened.
Zips it across the middle. Touchdown! Burrow stays on course. He's in the conversation.
What is the blessing of being in the Heisman conversation?
I think it shows not only the hard work that I've put in for 10 and 15 years, but the hard work that our team has put in their whole careers.
What's the burden of being in the Heisman conversation?
I honestly haven't really thought about it that much. I just do what I can to win games. If that means throwing for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, that's what I'll do. If it means throwing for 150 yards and handing off 40 times a game, that's exactly what I'll do.
In our PlayStation Player Impact rating, Joe Burrow with those numbers, best in the country, record-setting 78% completion percentage and 48 touchdown passes, the most in the SEC, in SEC history. I've done this a few times with you. Just stop and think about that for a minute. Most yards in the SEC, most touchdown passes. Jesse Palmer, Johnny Manziel, Steve Spurrier, Peyton Manning, Danny Werfel.
Yeah.
You know, the list goes on and on.
Tim Couch.
Tim Couch, Drew Lock. I mean, it goes on and on.
Top 5.
And nobody has had a better statistical season than Joe Burrow has had at LSU this year. And now he gets a chance to try to lead LSU back to the mountaintop in a national championship.
I mean, we've been talking for 4 hours about him, and I just, you almost start to run out of things to say. We're getting ready to go to the Heisman. He's going to win the Heisman. We're going to continue to talk about him. The remarkable thing to me, Jesse, is that he's come into this year, had to learn a new offense. When I asked him about, man, how do you adjust to this offense? He goes, to be honest, last year was tougher because I grew up in this offense. In high school and at Ohio State, this was my comfort level. So while we're all looking at him and thinking, wow, he adjusted pretty quickly, he's saying, no, this is more back who I used to be. And last year was tough.
And he's the son of a coach. And you can see that, right? He has unbelievable football IQ and his ability to read coverages and work through progressions in a modified West Coast offense with schemes and route combinations that you see on Sundays. The thing I'll always remember about this season for Joe Burrow is the accuracy. I've never seen anything like it, guys. 78%. They're not throwing bubbles and receiver screens and swing passes. They're throwing the football downfield. And again, he's hitting you in the numbers and he's hitting you in the face mask. And he does it from the pocket and he does it from outside the pocket, extending the play. I've never seen a guy pass the ball as well as Joe Burrow has. 78% is ridiculous. So for a guy that was a backup at Ohio State, who almost transferred to Cincinnati, to now win the Heisman Trophy and maybe be the first pick of next year's NFL draft, this is an incredible ascent.
Yeah, I would say two guys. I'd put Tua in that class also when you watch him when Tua's healthy. When it comes to ball placement, and then that's why when you watch both of these offenses, if you get the ball to any one of those receivers anywhere on the field, they can go the distance because they never have to break stride when they're running as they take the ball in. I just don't know that I've seen a quarterback make as big of a jump as Joe Burrow did. And I understand you switch offenses, but I've always asked coaches, can you teach a guy to anticipate? And you watch Joe Burrow anticipate routes and do things that the guys at the next level do, like Drew Brees does it, Tom Brady does it, where they throw guys open. A guy is covered, he's running a route, ball is out of his hand before the receiver makes his break. That is the next level stuff that Joe Burrow does that you don't see anywhere else in college football except maybe one or two other guys, and that's why when we talk about him, it's, he's going to win the Heisman. And then when the NFL draft comes up, there's going to be teams out there, namely maybe Cincinnati Bengals, who are going to say, I want that guy to lead my offense.
His worst game, he completed 71%. Isn't
that crazy?
Like that's tough to do on air. Unbelievable when you think about the competition. But I tell you what, the biggest thing that separates him from him and everybody else to me is it's just the ability to buy time. It's the ability to find a way to buy time, know my answer, and make a big play, and the strength and the competitiveness. The dude doesn't slide still. He's going to win the Heisman. He knows that coming into Ole Miss game. He's not sliding. Like he's just got
like
that competitive temperament that's amazing, and his ability to feel and see, just one rusher? No shot. You're not going to get me to the ground and make a big play.
I want to go back to what Joey said because there's a reason for what you're describing. And it is, honestly, the commitment that he and his receivers made in the offseason in the summer down in Baton Rouge when it's 100 degrees. They're showing up and they're working and they're enjoying this new offense because they haven't had it in the past. So there was excitement, genuine excitement around them and an everyday work ethic that allowed them to build the timing that you're talking about and the answers. And then he's in. They win on Saturday. I'm not exaggerating. He's in on Sunday like an NFL quarterback.
That's a great point.
For hours.
No class?
No. Then he takes a test on Monday on the coverage for the game that's 6 days away. He takes a test based on his film study on Sunday. He does that on Monday.
He loves
And then
football.
they just keep tweaking.
Yeah.
So by the time they get to Saturday, this dude is an offensive coordinator playing quarterback. That's why he has answers.
There are a lot of guys that play this sport and play this position, and they just rely on God-given ability, and they're just going to show up Saturday and figure it out. But when you love football and you're willing to put this much time into it and get the people around you to commit and dial in and become invested in what you're trying to do and show them a vision. This guy just showed up on campus like a year ago. And all of a sudden now you're telling your teammates, not just in the huddle, but in the offseason when there's no cameras around, here's the goal. It's beating Bama on the road. It's winning our division. It's winning our conference. It's reaching a playoff, winning a national championship. They buy in, but you got to be special. And Joe Burrow is.
How do you walk in there and win a team over, too? You come out of Ohio
plays.
State. Well, I'm talking about last year.
That's how you win us over.
Mentality.
We love to work with a guy that can throw the ball.
That helps.
Yeah,
No, sure.
No,
I don't mean receivers. I don't mean receivers. I mean
No, and
linemen.
it's not about
linebackers and-
stats, though. We all gravitate toward a quarterback that we know can lead us to a win.
Sure.
If we got a guy in that huddle that we know can make the plays, we're looking like, which wall do you want us to run through? Because we'll go.
That's
'cause
where
we
they
know
are
you
with
can
him.
make the plays if we do our job.
However, it does help if you buy pizza.
Well, I'm sure it does. And the other thing that helps, too, is there were a couple of things that happened. In Georgia game last year, not the one yesterday, but the one last year, he went in and made some really tough-minded plays, beat his chest. This is my house, that kind of thing. Everybody gravitated to it. UCF game, he gets decleated on an interception. Everybody rallied to him. There was also a team meeting, sort of a team meeting earlier when they weren't sure about Joe Burrow. And he basically laid down the law. You got something to say? Get it out on the table, say it now. And everybody sort of, realized, okay, it's real.
To go from Ohio to Baton
do.
Rouge is really challenging. The culture is just so different.
But you hear Ronaldo yesterday?
He did.
When he went,
He did.
Russell
Within a
Wilson's
couple months, he was a captain.
He was a captain. I think it's a very apt comparison because I think he's going to have the same kind of success Joe Burrow in the NFL.
Yeah.
We heard the story Ronaldo told on game day yesterday that he got a salad early on.
And they were like, what's up with this?
They started making fun of him. I think he said, now he eats his salads in private. More gumbo.
Nothing wrong with a salad, bro.
More gumbo.
Alligator
fresh
on that.
salad.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, we got a bowl game. I think Herbie might have. Has Herbie already shared this one? Let's put it up on the screen. And say it is now official.
Yeah.
The VRBO Citrus Bowl. Michigan and Alabama. Alabama not in the playoff for the first time. You like Saban?
I love seeing these two brands next to each other playing. That's the all-uni game. That's the all-uni bowl game right here, Michigan and Alabama. And for Alabama, as discouraged and frustrated as their season ended, their ranking, it's nice to have a big brand on the other side to get your team fired up to go and play. A lot at stake. Anytime the SEC and the Big Ten go at it, always a lot at stake.
Does this sort of get the bear off of Jim Harbaugh's back if he can win this game?
No.
I mean, we talk about his record against Ohio State. Talk about his record in the big games. If you can go knock off of Alabama, I will bet you that gets
definitely
that cools down the seat a little bit.
And if you lose and Tua throws, or not Tua, but that offense throws for 400 yards,
Mac Jones.
Well,
that'd be a problem.
Well, here's the question. I want to know how much press coverage Don Brown's going to play in this game.
Oh, Sarge, why don't you try that press?
Yeah. Jerry Jeudy, DeMonte Smith, Jalen Waddle out there.
You expect all of them to play?
Wait a minute. Look, there's still a long time for people to get in the ears. There are a lot of rumblings around Tuscaloosa. They're going to play, and some of them might play next year.
Well,
I wouldn't expect. I don't know about all of them.
Well, I was with
There's
Tua.
always rumbling in December, Reese.
Yeah, I know. That's why I
Najee
offered
Harris,
the
too.
caveat.
I was with Tua on Tuesday. He said that I don't know if it's led by him. They're having a players-only meeting with the guys that are deciding to stay or go. I don't know if it's going to be we're all either all in or we're all out, but it kind of felt like that. So we'll see.
Is that when he had his Santa Claus pajamas on?
That was when he had his Santa Claus pajamas. Love that kid.
You know what? That was something
him.
you were really touched and moved by the time that you spent with him.
I was also with his parents. I mean, I think there's a great appreciation for his spirit. It's just he's been through a lot, and yet he stays positive. But I think much like Joe Burrow, his team looks at him exactly the same way. So we'll see. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they're all out at all.
No, nor do I. And, a lot of it's going to be determined on the draft and where they're going to be placed and all of that. But there's also a sense of the proverbial, if I had a nickel for everybody that has some unfinished business, I'd be a really rich man. But,
then there's Clemson that did it and came back and went undefeated, and it meant something to that group.
You're already a rich man, too. So it doesn't matter.
You're very good with that.
Not as rich as you. You build your own gyms. Camping World Bowl is now out there, and Notre Dame against Iowa State is at noon on ABC.
I like that.
28th, that's the day of the semifinals. That's a great way to get the day started.
Matt Campbell has done an unbelievable job at Iowa State, and he deserves that, absolutely. But imagine, now getting that program on stages like this, in bowl games where you're winning 8-9 games a season, you're getting to go play against Notre Dame. Brock Purdy has been one of the more fun quarterbacks to watch this year, scrambling around, throwing the ball. It's going to be fun to watch.
And College Game Day will lead to that game, looks like, right?
Yep.
We'll have a game day on that day,
that's
right?
on semifinal day.
I think I love about Herbie. You have the game day producer.
I saw the 28th.
You're thinking about it. Yeah, what's going to lead in?
Yeah.
Do you know what channel you want to start?
We're always thinking, man, it looks like
put
fun.
It on the deuce and
You
bring
guys
it
go to Arizona. That's great.
And
Joey will be in Atlanta.
College Game Day will be
courtside
from
Phoenix.
Great
Yeah, you got. So that's.
You join us
so
on
you
the
guys
Bird.
are going
That's
to Phoenix.
done.
You join us on the Bird.
You know what?
Selfish.
You know what?
We can book it.
You might get great weather too.
Oh, really?
At
You
least
might.
45.
It hadn't happened in recent years.
We're going to be
down
indoors.
there. Yeah, exactly.
That's the only guarantee.
Inside 10 minutes
bud.
away from tip-off. Kristen Williams of UConn, and she gets set to take on the Fighting Irish. 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Two of the great programs in women's basketball about to square off.
This is College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
Have you ever